It's the Cold War, and in this video I'll be talking about the guerrilla tactics, bushfighting, sort of communism versus a capitalist right-wing factor. However, I'm not talking about Vietnam, I'm not even talking about the French Indochina War. In this video I'm discussing the Rhodesian Bush War, which took place between the 4th of July 1964 and the 12th of December 1979. A pretty long 15-year conflict, over 15 years. So let's get straight into the video. The roots of the war can be traced way back to colonial times. Since the 1890s, Cecil Rhodes, hence the name Rhodesia, has been a British colony, and Britain got quite a lot of financial aid and assistance from Rhodesia over the years, such as the gold mines. However, things remained pretty calm and loyal there towards the British. However, after the Second World War, promises of Rhodesia becoming a dominion, such as South Africa, Australia, were denied by the British because they had actually worked out, rather nice than surprisingly for the British Empire, that if they did give Rhodesia a dominion status, although it would remain part of the British Empire, with Elizabeth II head of state, they were a very, to put it mildly, a racist government, headed only by the 8% of white people that lived in Rhodesia. 98% of the 8% of the white people, if that makes sense, would be in the government and held the right to vote. Some white people had an idea that instead of only white people voting, they give just the richest people the right to vote, but again, 90% of the rich people in Rhodesia were white. So in 1962, Winston Fieldlake replaced 1964 with Ian Douglas Smith as head of Rhodesia. Of course, there was growing discontent in Rhodesia for the native people living there about what this possible independence once the British had left, what happened to Rhodesia. So two factions evolved, both actually communist. One, the ZAPU, the USSR, and one, the ZANU, by the Chinese backed, and that was one Robert Mugabe was a part of, and we'll come on to him later. So on the 4th of July 1964, the war kicked off. However, there were no real actual battles in the war of, like a big 100,000, 200,000 strong military force between the two sides, but it was very much, like I said, guerrilla-style tactics, fighting, bombing, Molotov cocktails, grenades, and the like. However, as the war progressed, it remained quite, to be honest, horrible. In the White Rhodesian Army, of course, it was the White Rhodesian Army against the ZANU and ZAPU. The White Rhodesian Army installed an idea known as the Fire Force, as the name suggests. It was basically an aerial assault. You would first bomb the land, then send paratroopers in through helicopter or planes to basically clear up anything that was left off. In the first couple of years of the war, as the 1960 claim closed, the 1970s dawned on us, it was predicted that the White Rhodesians may well win. However, in 1975, Portugal gained independence to Mozambique, so the only ally Rhodesia had left was South Africa, which was also, of course, an apartheid system, also quite a racist country. However, it did mean that ZANU and ZAPU could now form bases in 3 countries surrounding Rhodesia, because the British had given Nyasaland, now Malawi, and Northern Rhodesia, now Zambia, independence. So yeah, they could completely encircle the Rhodesians. Even in Botswana, well, that also gained independence in the 1960s. As a result, peace talks did soon follow in the United Nations, as ZANU and ZAPU, of course, in those 3 countries being based, rapidly grew up speed in support and attack against the White Rhodesians. And they were the minority, the native black people were the majority. So again, like I said, a ceasefire was announced on the 12th of December 1979. The war did come to an end, and the British agreed that once elections were held fairly and a new government was installed, that could regain independence. So a couple of candidates, however, in the end it was aforementioned the ZANU, Robert Mugabe, who came to power. Bit of a controversial figure, as of course, following the war, many people did not like him, as some people could have seen him as a tyrant rather than just a freedom fighter. In 1983, Zimbabwe did gain its independence, leaving the British with just South Africa as its final holding in Africa, as a sort of colonialism. So, in the short term, the war could definitely be seen as just like any other Cold War conflict. Bit of East and West going on, decolonisation, like, not that big of a deal. However, in the long term, it definitely had some pretty disastrous effects. Although the British kind of got what they wanted, I mean, they gained independence, but you had sort of a peaceful transition of power rather than just a racist one. In the end, the White Rhodesians weren't happy because they had lost any seat in government they had, and many of them did leave the country. But at the end of the day, the ZANU and ZAPU weren't all happy because one USSR backed, one Chinese backed. There was a bit of tension there and a bit of killing that went on between those two factions of the natives. It was, of course, quite huge when it came to loss of lives. 20,000 were killed, roughly, including 1,365 of the Rhodesian Army, the White Army, and 10,000 of ZANU and ZAPU guerrilla tactics stealth fighters. However, the Rhodesian Bush War is definitely a very, very, very interesting conflict. And just here you can find a video by Jabzy, which I got some of my sources from, and you can also find my sources for this video in the description below. So hope you enjoyed that video, guys. I definitely did. I always quite like, interesting parts of the Cold War that we don't often talk about. Maybe probably haven't even heard of the Rhodesian Bush War, which is why I think it was nice to make a little short YouTube video on it. I hope you did thoroughly enjoy it. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in my next YouTube video. Goodbye.